and everybody's aware of that. And welcome this afternoon to our session on an overview of Canvas. I'm Dave Giberson. I'm an old instructional design coordinator from Online Learning Pathways at the district. I retired about 3 years ago, but I've been doing a little consulting in the interim, and they asked me to come back and help with this situation we all find ourselves in. It was totally unanticipated by everyone. It's nice to meet those of you I haven't known before. Many of you I see I know well, and it's nice to see you. I'm going to share an outline of what we're going to try to do today with you. I'll do that by sharing my screen in Zoom, which is Zoom's superpower. It's what makes Zoom a virtual classroom. And here's our outline. Let's see. I've introduced myself. I've gone over the basics of Zoom, and you've put your names in the chat tool. Thanks very much for that. So we're about down to here. We'll look at what we're looking at today, of course, is Canvas, our learning management system at the district. This is a very big, fancy web server that allows you to post content online for your students to consume, to view, to read, whatever, whether at any time that it's convenient for them to do so. This is how fully online courses usually work. You post your course materials, and the students interact with them on their own time, as opposed to lecturing in real time like we're doing right now. The first thing I'm going to show you about Canvas is how to get help with it. Once you know how to do that, you can probably figure out most other things. Then we'll look at the Canvas. We'll run through and see what Canvas looks like, what the interface looks like, and how to navigate around in it and get around in Canvas. Then I'll show you some typical things that you might do with Canvas in either in an online course or in what we call a web enhanced course, where you're just using Canvas as a supplement to your classroom instruction. And many of you may be doing something akin to that right now. You may be lecturing your students in real time over Zoom, and yet, but at the same time, Canvas is available to you to share information with them that they can access at times when you're not online. And Canvas will also allow you to do assessment. You can give tests. You can accept homework. You can allow your students to engage in class discussions asynchronously, that is on their own time. Everybody's online at different times, yet they can still converse with one another through the discussion forums in Canvas. So Canvas has some tremendous capability that is very useful, even if you're teaching in a classic classroom lecture mode, either in a physical classroom or a virtual classroom like Zoom. So Canvas is a very important part of any sort of remote or distance type education, and it can be very useful that way. I'm going to show you how to put content into Canvas to share with your students. I'm going to show you how to communicate with your students through Canvas. And I'm going to show you how you can assess your students' progress through Canvas, and a few other little odds and ends. And we'll try to get through all of that by 4 o'clock. We'll see. We'll do our best. So let's get started. Oh, by the way, you can have a copy of this outline if you want it. I'm going to share it with you through the chat tool. We'll put the link in here. wouldn't dignify this with the name of syllabus. We'll just call it an outline. It's mainly there so I don't forget what I'm supposed to do. Since I can barely remember what I had for breakfast, that's probably advisable. There's a link to it. You can just click on that link and you can bring this up in another window outside of Zoom if you like and refer to it, or you can print it. You can also save that link and access it at any time. You can do that by saving the chat log. In the chat window, in the lower right-hand corner are 3 little dots next to one another. That's a menu button. If you mouse over it, it says More. If you click on that, you'll get an option to save the chat. And you can do that as often as you like. And I'll be putting hopefully useful information in there from time to time. You can always save the chat so that you'll have it. It will be saved to your local computer, into your documents folder, in a folder called Zoom, which is created automatically when you save the chat tool. Okay, now I'm going to keep that off screen here so I don't forget what I've done and what I'm supposed to do. And let's get started with Canvas. Let me log out here, and that was where I was at the end of the last session. All right, the first thing we'll learn is how to access Canvas. We can't get into it, it's not going to do us any good. The Canvas login page can be found at sdccd.instructure.com. Let me put that up a little bigger so you can see it better. Oop, it's the wrong one. Wrong window. Grab the wrong thing. Sorry. I'm going to have to put that in here. Instructure, that's a made-up word. It's the name of the company that writes Canvas, so that one's not going to be spellable instinctively. But you just have to type this into the address line on your web browser. And let me put that in the chat tool as well. So you just put that right up here in the address line on the web browser and press enter, and you go to the Canvas login page. You almost certainly already have an account on Canvas. You didn't have to ask for it. You may or may not know that have known that it was there, but it's been there as long as you've had a teaching contract at the SDCCD, at least for the last 3 years. You had a Canvas account. Those are made automatically. Anybody with a teaching contract, full or part-time, or a TAO, will have a Canvas account, unless you haven't taught a course in a long time. This is true for your students too. All currently registered students at the district have Canvas accounts, and they access Canvas exactly the same way you do, which I'm about to show you. To log into Canvas, you give, for a user ID, you enter your 10-digit employee ID number that you get on all correspondence from the district. Your password is set automatically when the account is automatically created to your 8-digit birth date, month, day, year. So if your birth date, say, was June 1st, 1998, oh, I wish, your Canvas password initially is set to 06 for June, 01 the first day. So if it's a single digit month or day, you have to put a 0 in front of it. And then 1998, and that'd be your password. No no periods, no slashes, no punctuation at all, just the numbers. So you should be able to log into Canvas anytime you like, whether you've ever done so before or not. If you have any trouble with that, please email me. Let me put my email address in here. I'm always happy to hear from you whenever you need help. So my user ID and password are a little different because I was like the second person put in the system when they brought it up. So I had a different kind of login, obviously. But all you have to do once you've entered your credentials, and maybe click the Stay Signed In button, but only click that if you're on your own computer. If you're on a public computer somewhere in a lab or a library or something, like they're available right now, don't check that. But if you're using your home computer, it's okay to check that, so you don't have to enter your password every time. Then you can just click Login, and Canvas will load. On the far left here, you see a menu bar in gray. Let me get that. That thing right there is aggravating. Make you seasick. You'll see a menu bar on the left side here outlined in gray. This is the so-called Canvas system menu, and the system-wide tools that apply to all of your courses appear here. Things like your account settings, your dashboard itself, which is the first thing you see when you log in, your calendar, your inbox, your email tool in Canvas, and so on. All of these are things that you might need at any time in Canvas, so that it's always there on the left-hand edge of your Canvas screen whenever you're logged into the system. In the center, we have a big content frame where your content actually appears in your course. Like if you post your syllabus will appear here. And on the right is in this right-hand frame here, there are usually some task menu links, things that you can do at this point in the system. There's a to-do list and some upcoming events and so on, if you have any of those to look forward to. So that's kind of the general geography of the Canvas screen that will continue throughout most of the things or places we go in Canvas. But by far the most important link that you see right here on this screen right now is the Help button down here in the lower left-hand corner of the system menu. What is your email? Can we ask you? I'm just looking at the chat tool here. Can we ask you a question later? You betcha. You can ask me a question pretty much anytime, and I will answer it as best I can. And I will. I have put my email in there, and I will be happy to hear from you there. And anything you put in the chat tool, I will answer before I get offline today. So this Help button allows you to get help with Canvas. And if you know how to do that, the chances are you can figure out everything else you need in a pinch. I'm going to try to make that a little easier today, lighten the burden on you a little bit in that regard. But these online continuously available help resources are very valuable to you. Like if you're up at 2 a.m. in the morning working on your Canvas course, these folks are going to be available and I'm going to be asleep. So a good thing to know about. Right at the top, we have the Canvas support hotlines. You'll just be seeing the faculty hotline. That's a 24/7, 365 number that you can call and get help. I will tell you that right now, there's so many more people are using Canvas than normal that the waits for access to help through that can be considerable right now if you call at peak times. If you call in the middle of the night, you'll have a better shot at it. Though Canvas does span the world, so you may get someone who's up in the there may be a lot of people asking in the middle of the night too. But these are the folks you will talk to are employed by Instructure, the company that writes Canvas. And for the most part, when you get to them, they are in a time zone such that they are awake in their normal day-night cycle, and you're not talking to somebody who's up in the middle of the night in Bangalore, probably. So it's these folks are very good, and the service we've gotten out of this has just been amazing since we brought Canvas up. So those, I commend you to that. Your students have the same hotline, have a similar hotline. The number is 1 digit off, but it's the same sort of thing, and they can get help at any time as well. Also available here are the Canvas guides, a massive collection of tutorials that will tell you just about anything you ever wanted to know about Canvas and probably a lot more. If you click on that link, you'll go to a page that has all sorts of guides available, from video tutorials to guides on how to use Canvas on a mobile device, to the to the main Canvas tutorials link. It just says Canvas guides. And there are Canvas guides for both instructors and students. So this is a place you can refer your students for help with Canvas, and you can use yourself. The guides are arranged by subject, and you can just click into the subject. If you want to know about homework assignments in Canvas, you can just click there and you'll get tons of information on different subjects about Canvas assignments, or different details about Canvas assignments. There are hundreds and hundreds of tutorials here, and you can drill your way down through them to find out just about anything you want to know about Canvas. However, to tell you the truth, the most efficient way to get help with Canvas, and what I use when I run into something that I can't remember or that I never knew how to do in Canvas, I just bring up a web browser, go to Google, and type in a question. Like, how do I make a test in Canvas? I press enter, and bingo, I get a set of step-by-step instructions. And then I get tons and tons of different links. I get videos, I get links to help pages from all over the world. There's one from Yale and Brown. You go right to the Ivy League if you like and get this help. There's almost nothing you can't find out about Canvas by just typing a question into Google. And usually it's quicker than searching your way through the guides, to tell you the truth. This is what I do, as I say, when I have a question about Canvas. And I may have to use it today. If you ask me, there's always a chance you can ask me a question about Canvas that I can't answer, but somebody will be able to. So, let's go back to Canvas itself, where we were. We'll talk more about some of the other links in this menu in a little while. Question? Can I hear someone? Nope, I guess not. I'll be here. Oh, and one other thing in the Canvas help menus. We do have Canvas tutorials of our own that we have created that are localized to our Canvas system. And those are almost all video tutorials, and they cover a wide variety of subjects in Canvas, not as wide as the Canvas guides, but we do try to supplement those guides this way. And you can click on that link and get to our tutorials. All right. So we've talked a little bit about the general nature of Canvas here. It's basically just a web server or a content management system that you can use to share content with your students, provide your students the opportunity to take assessments without having to come to a physical classroom, and provide your students the opportunity to communicate with you and with one another asynchronously, so everybody doesn't have to be online at the same time, through a variety of tools. And we're going to see how to do all of those things. Obviously, I can't show you every detail about Canvas in 2 hours. There's quite a lot to the system. But I am going to hit the high spots and at least show you, I hope, where to look for more information, give you a rough idea of the sorts of things you can do with Canvas, and give you enough information to get started on trying that. We'll hit the high spots as we go through. So when you log into Canvas, the first thing you see is this dashboard. You may see some system announcements up at the top of the screen that are particularly urgent information that you need to know right away at this point in time, and could have existential importance to you vis-a-vis Canvas. Right now, that announcement encourages you to publish your Canvas course. Publish, as used in Canvas speak, means make it visible to students. If you don't publish your course, the Canvas course, your students can't see it, and it doesn't do them any good to have it up there. And that's something you have to do yourself. We can't do that for you. So it's something we put up at the beginning of every semester for a while, or at the beginning of a circumstance where there are a lot of new people on Canvas who haven't been using it before, like right now. So you'll see those system announcements, and then you'll see a series of colored rectangles, tiles, each of which represents a course that you're enrolled in, either as a teacher or a student, or a TA or something like that. Right now, even if you've never used Canvas before and never asked for anything vis-a-vis Canvas, you will see tiles for your current courses, the ones you're teaching right now, and maybe some from the past as well. But you'll see tiles for your current courses, because at the beginning of each semester, a Canvas container, Canvas shell, we usually refer to it, is made for every course in the course catalog at the SDCCD, at all 3 colleges and continuing ed. They all have shells made for them. If you decide not to use it, it'll just sit there empty, and no one will ever know it's there, but it is there and available to you. So you should have shells for each of your current courses, each section of your current courses now. So if you have 2 sections of one course, there'll be 2 shells there, 1 Canvas shell per section. To get into that and see what it looks like, you can just click on the tile that represents that particular course shell. And I should have done this before. I'm going to clear this one out so it looks just like what your initial blank shells look like. This is not something you want to do to a running course. I just took everything out of there. This is a sandbox I've been using for demonstrations during these sessions. So this is what your shell will look like before you put anything into it. This is a blank Canvas shell, and that's how they're supplied to you. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to put content in here that you can share with your students. By content, I mean things that the students would read or view or click on, like your lecture notes, say, maybe your PowerPoint presentations, your syllabus, your lecture handouts if you have them, your any outside readings that you habitually hand out and run off on paper and hand out to the students. All of that stuff can be placed into Canvas so the students can access it any time of the day or night whenever they want to. So we'll learn how to put that kind of stuff into Canvas. Canvas, in a blank course, you get kind of two helper icons here to help you get started adding content to your course. One, the one on the bottom here that says add existing content, assumes that you have some content somewhere that's either in another Canvas course or maybe in an old Blackboard course that you haven't used for years, or maybe some content that a colleague has shared with you. A colleague who uses Canvas regularly has shared with you. This is something to investigate if you're trying to gen up a Canvas shell to use with a course quickly. You might check with your department or with your friends within the department who you know teach your same subject and see if they have some Canvas content that they'd be willing to share with you. Give you a leg up on getting a Canvas shell put together and developed. If you can find such a kind soul, you can just click on this Add Existing Content button and go to an Import Content screen where you tell Canvas what form the imported content is, or the content that you want to import is in. Usually copy from a Canvas course on our system or a Canvas course export package, which another faculty member provides to you, which contains some or all the content of their Canvas shell. Or it might be an old Blackboard shell, or it might be something from a publisher in QTI zip format. Or a publisher might supply you with a Canvas course export package. So any of those are possibilities that you could look into. You just tell Canvas which one you want. You choose the file and look for the file that you've been given. It'll be a zip file. You can pick the file that you've been given that has the content, click all content and click import. And bing, it'll come right in and you'll have some content in your Canvas course right away. And there's another possibility for getting content for free that you can use in your own courses. And for that, we can look over here in the Canvas System menu and look at the link to the Canvas Commons right above the Help button there in the bar on the left. If I click on that, I go to a massive repository of so-called learning objects or content that can be useful in an online or a web enhanced course that can be easily imported into your Canvas shells. You can search this, and by a massive repository, I mean, I think there are almost 100,000 items in this repository, and they're donated by people all over the country and all over the world who use Canvas, many of them in the California community colleges, since all California community colleges now are using Canvas for their online and web enhanced courses. So there's a ton of content in here. And you can search it by discipline or by any other keyword that you can think of. Somebody give me a discipline they'd like to see some resources, and you can unmute yourself and speak up or type it into the chat tool.
English
101.
English.
English 101.
All righty, let's try that.
English 101.
Got it.
Thank you.
There's 65 results there. And I bet if I take the 101 off, I'll get 3,613 results. But let's leave the 101 on there just for grins. Tons, just tons of content of all sorts. All of these are complete Canvas courses. You could conceivably just import one of those, look through it, see if you like it, throw away what you don't, keep what you like, and just start teaching with it. There are Canvas modules, which are collections of related content that put together make up the course. Canvas pages are individual web pages of information. So, and there's a quiz that you could import and use, modify for your own use, assignments, just all sorts of different kinds of content. If you're looking for something specific, you can filter by types of content, like if you were interested only in, say documents. It doesn't look like there are any of those. Let's take that off. Assignments, there are your assignments. But there's just a wealth of content out there on the Commons. And it's very, very easy to get this content into your Canvas shell if you want to take a look at it. If you bring it in and you don't like it, you can always delete the content, though it may take a little while. But you can always get rid of it. You can preview the content by just clicking on the link to it. And you can see what it is. You can go to details, get more detail. Or rather, you can see who shared it. Oh, this is one of our colleagues from Shoreline Community College. So you can just try this, look at it, preview it, and if you like it, you can import it into your own Canvas shell by just clicking this button here that says Import Download. And all you have to do is pick the course shell into which you want it imported. Hopefully you will never get into a situation where you have that many active courses at one time. But I'll just pick one at random here that I know I can't mess up. And then all I have to do to import this full-blown English course into my shell is to click this button here at the bottom of the list that says Import into Course. When you do that, you get a message that says, okay, the import's proceeding, check back in a few minutes and it'll be done. So you just go on about your business, maybe you do something else in Canvas or check your email or go get a cup of coffee. And when you come back, all of that material will be in your course automatically, boom, and you can get started with it. Keep what you like, throw away what you don't, and then proceed to use it. Yes?
If a colleague wants to put something in this Commons, can they share it with you? Not specifically an entire course, but a set of lectures, for instance.
Right, yeah, that would be like a module. And yes, absolutely, you can share content into the Commons, and other people then can use it. But if it's put into the Commons, no, come to think of it, you can control visibility. So you don't necessarily have to share it with everybody in the world. But you can do that. that is one way indeed to do that. There is another that doesn't involve the commons that I can show you as well. They can basically export that material from their course, get it put it in the form of a zip file that they download to their local computer. Then they can email that file to you, and then you can import it, as I showed you on that a couple of minutes ago. Or you can use the commons that way. Yes, you can.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for the good question. So, the commons is a place you can go and look for content. And some of it's very high quality, some of it less. But there are a lot of really good high quality resources in there. So let's go back to our dashboard and go back into our course that we're playing in here, our sandbox. Canvas rearranged the dashboard for me at the last minute there. Whoa, wonder where it put that. I think it probably put it at the bottom. Yep, there it was. Did it just move it again? All right, Canvas, don't mess with me. There. I'm not sure what I did to offend it. All right, so here we're back in your blank shell here. So more power to you. If a colleague will share some content with you, or if you can find it something you can use in the commons, it's a great starting point. But at some point, you're going to have to be adding content of your own that you have on your local computer, or that you found on the web, or that's been supplied to you by a publisher or whatever. You're going to need to be able to put that content into Canvas in such a way that it can be shared with your students. And that's what this second big icon here would get you started doing. That icon says create a new module. So as Noah said, what's a qubit? What's a module? A module is a collection of related information that you can provide to your students. And a Canvas course is generally just a collection of modules. Each module probably covers maybe a logical part of your course, like the first week of the course, or the first chapter in the textbook, or the first topic that you habitually cover, or whatever. And then each subsequent module has another week, or another chapter, or another topic in it. So content that you put into Canvas is grouped by module. And a Canvas course just basically consists of a series of modules, one after the other. In order to share content, indeed, with your students in the course, you just about have to create modules to do it. This was kind of optional in Blackboard, though we had the same kind of capability, but in Canvas pretty much enforces it. And that's a good thing, because that's called modular course design, and it's the gold standard for course design for an online or web-enhanced course. So the first thing Canvas is going to help you do is create your first content module, just by clicking on that icon right there. And you get an add module box popping up. And all you have to do to make a module is give it a name. And that, of course, is going to be informed by what you're going to put into this module, the type of information that this module is going to contain. So a typical strategy in a Canvas course is to have a module, have the first module that the students encounter in Canvas be like a welcome or an introduction or a getting started module, where you put links to information that the students would need before they start interacting with your course content. before they start doing their textbook readings and reading other materials that you give them about that part of the course, and then taking tests and taking and turning in homework and things like that. There's usually like a getting started module. That's what I'll call this one, just for the heck of it. Chrome was trying to help me there. That wasn't Canvas. That was Chrome, the Chrome web browser, saying, "Oh, you typed all this stuff in this kind of box before. You want it again?" Saves you a little time after a while. So once you, one way or another, you get a name in that box there, you just click Add Module, and you see your first blank module pop up on the screen. You can always get back to your modules, as can the students, by clicking on the Modules link here in the course menu. That's how you get back to modules if you're out and about somewhere in Canvas. So we have an empty bag here into which we can put content, or more specifically, links to content. Your content doesn't actually live here in the module. It lives either in your file manager in the Canvas course, or it may live offline somewhere, or under the, if it's a homework assignment, it might live under the assignments tool, or if it's a quiz, a test of any kind, it might live under the quizzes tool here. But a module is where your students are going to find it, or find a link to it in order to access it. And you can also create anything or upload anything you need to put into a module right from the modules tool here. You don't have to go swanning around in the course menus most of the time. You can do just about everything from this screen we're on right here. And that's the most efficient way to do it generally. So I've got a getting started module. There's not anything in it right now. So how am I going to get stuff into that module? And right now I'm going to talk about course content. That is, documents that the students would read, links to resources out on the web, links to PowerPoint presentations that you habitually use in class, lecture notes, all that kind of stuff would go in a content module. And in this case, I'm going to want to put stuff in that would be covered like on the first day of class. Things they need to know right away that don't necessarily have anything to do with the course subject, but that govern how they're going to, what they're going to be required to do in the course, what the name of the course is, the general content that they're going to be covering, things like that. So what's the first thing you can think of that you might put into a getting started module? You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat tool. What's something you're definitely going to do on the first day of class?
You're going to put a syllabus in there.
Syllabus, there's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. You're going to put the syllabus in. Okay, well, or you're going to talk about the syllabus. You're going to hand it out in class. Well, you can hand out your syllabus here by putting a link to it, by uploading it to Canvas and putting a link to it in this module. You probably have your, the most common scenario is that you'd have your syllabus in a Word document or maybe a PDF that you created and that you would normally print out on paper and hand out to the students. Well, here you can just upload the file to Canvas and the students can view it right on Canvas. To add something to a module, it's reasonably intuitive in Canvas. If you look here at the name of the module and then follow this line out to the right, you find a plus sign. Plus is add. So if you're going to add content to the module, where you're going to be able to do it, by clicking the plus sign. And when you do that, you get an add item box popping up. And there are quite a few things that you can add to this module. And here's the list. This little drop-down menu. You can add homework assignments. You can add quizzes, discussion forums, external URLs, which are like web links, links to content out on the web. But especially important to our discussion right now are files and pages. Just at a guess, if you have your syllabus in a Word file on your local computer, which one of those you're going to pick? By the way, something you can do when you want to speak and you're muted, I forgot to mention this, you can just press down the space bar, like holding down the talk button on a walkie-talkie, and you can talk for a second and then let it up and you'll be muted again. You don't have to find that little icon. So am I going to add a file or a page here? If I have my syllabus. File, exactly. Because it's in a computer file stored on your local hard drive, probably. So if I want to add my syllabus, I just click File here. And this is a brand new blank course. I don't have any files already on Canvas to add. So I have to tell Canvas I want to add a new file to my module. And when you do that, when you click on the words New File, Canvas pops up this Choose File button down here. And that allows you, if you click on that, it allows you to find that file on your local hard drive and upload it to Canvas. A process which Canvas takes care of. All you have to do is tell it which file. When you click that file button on a PC, you'll get a Windows Explorer window like this. If you're on a Mac, you'll get a Finder window, but you'll look for the content in the same way. And I have some content here, some sample content here somewhere that I can use for examples. And there's a syllabus. We won't worry about what the subject matter is here. We'll just pick up a syllabus at random. When I find my syllabus, which this one's a Word document, could easily be a PDF and an Adobe Acrobat document, or other possibilities as well. But once I find my syllabus, I just click on the name of the file and then click Open in this dialog box here. And now Canvas knows which file I want to upload to it. Then all I have to do is click Add File, or Add Item, rather. And so now, just that fast, that file was uploaded to my file storage area on Canvas, of which I have about, I think they've upped the file storage to about 1 gigabyte, which is quite a good bit for most things. So that, now the syllabus file is in there, and I have, at the same time, I get a link to that file, which I or the students can click on to bring up the syllabus. I've noticed this sort of display thing has been taking longer and longer with Canvas. Usually this is almost instantaneous, but Canvas is very busy these days. We actually got a bit of a speed boost on our Canvas system last night. Canvas, or Instructure, moved our Canvas instance, our version of Canvas, or our particular instance of Canvas, onto a different server cluster where it has more resources. So, but still, things can be a little deliberate right now with a gajillion people all around the world using Canvas. All right, so here's my syllabus. It's not much of a syllabus. Yours is going to be longer, but yours will work just the same way. The student can read it just by scrolling up and down. If there are links to things in it, they can click on them. If there are pictures or like that banner image there, or other types of graphical information. They'll show up here. So the student never has to download this file or to their local hard drive. They don't have to print it out on paper. They can just read it here anytime they want to. If they want to have their own copy of it and maybe print it out on paper, they can always download it by clicking on that link right there, and that will allow them to download a copy of the file to their local hard drive. But they usually don't have to do that in Canvas. For common file types like Word documents or PowerPoint presentations or PDF documents and quite a number of others, Canvas has what are called server-side viewers. And that's what you saw with the little circle twirling around there for a minute. Canvas was converting that Word document into something it could display right in this window without that file having to download all the way to your computer and then open up in Word or some other Word viewer. Instead of having to do that, the Word document can be viewed right on the server, on the Canvas server. And that generally makes it available to students much more rapidly, because we had the situation you said Blackboard, the file that Word document would have had to download it across the internet to the student's own computer. Then Word would have had to been triggered and started up on the computer, which can take several seconds. And then Word would have to open this file and display it. That's not true in Canvas. File-based content that is contained in files that you uploaded from your local computer originally, pops up on the screen a lot faster in Canvas than it used to in Blackboard. So that means that just if you have your content that you'd like to share with your student already in a bunch of Word documents and PowerPoint documents and things like that, you can just upload them to Canvas, usually one at a time, but you can upload them to Canvas and share them with your students using the same simple process I just showed you here. One after another, bang, 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 bang. You can upload the files into appropriate modules in Canvas. You create a series of modules, one for each chapter, one for each week of the course, one for each topic, and then you upload the documents that are appropriate for that particular subject matter or part of your course right into that module, just as we did with the syllabus document. Just trying to give you an overall grasp of why you might do this and what we're trying to accomplish here. So there's your syllabus. That may be all you need for getting started. And then you can start making new modules and putting your course content, your lecture notes, your PowerPoint presentations, whatnot in. But there's one, yes, go ahead.
Say I have my own website, I have different contents and things in that website. Can I go to that website and put it in here?
You betcha.
Okay.
Absolutely. You could just just click that plus sign there.
Yeah.
And instead of a file, you would select what's called an external URL, a web link. And you'd put the URL for the home page of your website right in that URL box there. And then you type a name for that link, something like my website. It'd probably be a little more informative than that, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
And then you'd add that item and you'd end up with a link right here that would that the student could click on and go straight to your website.
Oh, great. Thank you.
So know that all that work you've done is not wasted. No way. No way. Canvas is much more flexible and much more powerful than that. So a lot of your course material may be in your own website, and that's great. But the students can get to it through Canvas because the students are You know, we have lots of information online for students who are in online or web enhanced classes, and they're going to be expecting to go to a Canvas shell and go to a Canvas module and find a link to what they need. And there you go. You'd have it right there for them. Cool. I'll show you some other links for other applications for web links later on, but that's a great one. Another type of content that you can add to your Canvas module, other than the file or the web link we just looked at, is something called a Canvas page. And when you're just getting started, it's a little hard to grasp sometimes the distinction between a file that you upload to Canvas and a Canvas page. And they're really both files. To Canvas, when you go to add something to your module and you select and you pull up this add menu here, and you see both file and page as an option. A file to Canvas is a file that's on your computer that you're going to upload to Canvas, something you've already created offline, outside of Canvas, on your computer. And then you're going to upload that to Canvas and share it with your students. A page is a file that you create on Canvas using the Canvas content editor, which I'll show you in a second. A page is basically a Canvas page is basically just a web page. And to create one to share with your students in Canvas, you just select page, and you tell Canvas you want a new page because you don't have any pages yet in this course. And you give the page a name. And since I'm in my Getting Started module here, this page might have something to do with welcoming them to Canvas. I'll get it out in a minute. So I might just call this welcome and add item. And I get another link in my module just below the last one I put in. By default, when you add new links to a module, they go to the bottom. But you can change that at any time. If I want to move this welcome link up above my syllabus, all I have to do is mouse over this little movement tool here and click and drag it up. And now I can reorder links within modules freely. I can even move links from one module to another here on the modules page or modules tool. But right now, that sucker, if I click on that sucker, it's empty. There's nothing there. All it's got is a name. So I have to add content to this page for it to be of any use. And I can do that by editing the page. And it's still blank, but at least now I have a way to do something about that. I have been dropped into what's called the Canvas Rich Content Editor, or CE, you'll see it abbreviated sometimes. It's basically a little mini Microsoft Word that will allow you to create a file, a document, that you can share with your students on Canvas. Into this page, you can type text, you can insert pictures, you can put links to content both inside and outside Canvas. You can embed video so that your students can play a video that you found on YouTube or one that you made yourself. Any type of content like that can be embedded into a Canvas page and presented to your students so that they can make use of it. So let's build a little Canvas page here and just give you a little bit of a feel about how this rich content editor works. We do a separate session from time to time on content creation in Canvas, where we look at just about everything you can do with this rich content editor, but I'm just going to hit a couple of high spots here. For instance, you might put pictures in here. Maybe I'm going to put a banner image at the top here so that just gives some visual interest to the page. I can put pictures into this Canvas page by going to this Embed Image tool that is in the second line of the icons associated with control functions of the rich content editor. And I'm asked by Canvas to tell it where that image is and how to get it. And if I found an image online somewhere that I wanted to use, and I could get the actual web address of that image, I could just link dynamically to that. But that's a little risky. If somebody takes down that image later, your image may disappear from your page. So it's generally safer to upload an image that you have to Canvas and then have that image show up in your document, that your Canvas page that you're building. I do that by clicking on the Canvas tab here. Or if you have pictures stored on Flickr, you can pull those off, if anybody even uses Flickr anymore. I think Flickr is deader than MySpace, but I don't know. I never used Flickr much anyway. So it was a big photo repository managed by Google or owned by Google. Or owned by Yahoo the last time I heard. So but we're going to use pictures that we have on our computer. So I click the Canvas tab, and Canvas asks me, well, where do you want to put this? Where do you want to store the file that contains this picture? You have course files associated with this course, or you have a personal file management area where you can drop stuff and share it among different courses. Usually you're just going to put it into this course, into the course file. So you tell Canvas that by clicking on that option, and then Canvas lights up a little upload file button for you here. And you click that button, and Canvas opens up Windows Explorer or the Finder and allows you to hunt for that picture. Well, I've got a potload of pictures here, and somewhere I have a banner image with the Online Learning Pathways logo. I just look for that. There it is. I select it. I click Open. That usually doesn't take that long. Canvas is having a busy afternoon. Oh boy, usually that happens like snap of a finger. Okie dokie. That's not necessarily reassuring. Either Canvas or my internet connection is having a hissy. Oh, file upload failed. Really? Oh, I'll be honest with you, that's the first, in over 3 years of using this system, that's the first time I've ever seen that. Let me try that again to see if that's going to be a problem. Be a little hard to show you this stuff. That's more like what I expected. Now I've got the file. The file's uploaded to Canvas, and that's about how long it should take, unless it's really big. It shouldn't take very long at all. And I can proceed to put that into my Canvas page. Before I do that, though, I want to give it some alt text. This is for blind students who are accessing your course using a piece of software called a screen reader that reads the pages to them audibly. And of course, with that screen reader comes to a picture, it's not smart enough to tell the student what's in that picture. So you have to give the student some help by typing in alt text. So this is the Online Learning Pathways logo. So you type or paste that in, And then click Update in the lower right-hand corner of this box. And there's the banner image in your editor. You can make it a little bigger or a little smaller if you need to, just by clicking and dragging on these handles here. You can center it if you want to. You have a little bit of control over where it displays, but not as much as you would have in, say, Microsoft Word. The limitations of the web programming language called Hypertext Markup Language, HTML, are a little bit greater than those you work with in, say, Microsoft Word. So there's a limit to how much control you have over where things appear on the screen in a web page, which is what we're building here. But generally, you have enough formatting capability to get done what you need to do. So I've got a picture. That's how I put a picture into a Canvas page. I can also, of course, type into text into a Canvas page. And if you listen to your mama and you learn to type, unlike me, you can type that in quickly. And the course that a lot of the examples I give when I'm doing these seminars was an online flex course in a technique called screencasting, which is sort of like what we're doing with Zoom right now. You can bring up your computer screen and record your computer screen in full motion, so people later can see what you did on your computer screen, and they can hear what you have to say when you talk about it. And you can save that recording, and people can pull it up online whenever they want. Sounds a lot like Zoom. In fact, Zoom, in addition to being a meeting tool, is also a screencasting tool. And what I'm doing right now is, in fact, screencasting, because I'm recording this, and I'll put it online, and you can play it back later. So this was Introduction to Screencasting. I just mentioned that because that's a very useful technique in online web enhanced courses, of which all of ours are apparently going to be at least through the end of the summer semester. They're already considering at least the prospect of having nothing but online courses in the summer term. I don't know that that decision's been finalized. It's so far above my pay grade that I would get a nosebleed before I got halfway there. But I have heard that as more than just a rumor and something short of a certainty at this point. So I can type, and then I have all the usual text editing tools up here. I can bold this, I can italicize it, I could change the color of the text, I could center it, you know, all the usual Microsoft Word kind of stuff. I could make it bigger. Probably want my course welcome and title a little bit bigger. And then I can just keep adding, I can keep typing. I can type as much as I like here. I can paste content in from, say, a Word document or some other source that I have access to. You can be like your students and copy and paste stuff from websites. We won't get into the ethics of the copyright implications of that, but it's technically possible anyway. So you can paste and text and all kinds of stuff in here as well as typing it from scratch, which is a great comfort to me with my execrable typing skills. So I could just keep typing, and I could put lots of information about the course here. What the course is about, why you ought to take it, how you're going to be graded. Well, a lot of that's going to be in your syllabus, but you could just give the students an introduction to what they're getting themselves into maybe here.
Dave, Could I ask a question?
You certainly may.
I've created a few modules in my Canvas shell, and on one of those modules, in my fumbling around, I typed up some misleading information, which I now want to erase, but I can't seem to do it because when I erase it and then retype onto a different assignment, not a page, but an assignment, it brings up exactly the same thing as I had before for some reason.
Did
Is
you
there a
use
solution?
Did you use the same name again?
Yes, unfortunately.
That's the problem. When you remove something from a module, you don't delete it from the system. You just remove the link that's in the module.
I
And if
see.
you try to put back another page, say, which has the same name, it starts you out right where you were.
I see.
So try changing the name.
Good idea. Thank you.
You bet. Good question. All right, so, but back to a Canvas page here. We're building a Canvas page in Canvas using the Canvas Rich Content Editor. So what other type of content might we be able to put here? Well, a really handy kind of content that you can put in Canvas pages is a video. If there's a video out on YouTube, say, that you want to use, or at TED or wherever that you want to share with your students, you can put links to it right here in the Rich Content Editor that your students can click on and then play the video. I happen to have a little welcome video for this course that I made years ago. You'll note in this video that my hair is a lot shorter and I was somewhat younger when I made it, but it's still useful as an illustration, if nothing else. So let's say I wanted to put a video, embed a video here. Well, I can go, I know that that's stored on YouTube. I can go to YouTube, to my videos that I have put up on YouTube. I've got about 500 and some videos on YouTube, so I'm probably going to have to search for it. It was introduction, or it was welcome to screencasting. There it is, introduction to screencasting. That's the one I want. I can, on YouTube, I can just click this little details icon next to the video thumbnail, and it'll bring up the details page about that video. And here's the link. Here's the URL for that video. I just copy that to my clipboard by just clicking on this little shortcut icon here. Now it's on my clipboard, as you see down here. So I can leave YouTube quickly. I do an entire session on using YouTube with Canvas and in your online course in general, which I think I have another instance of that coming up before too long, after spring break. Thank God for spring break here. So we get another little respite in continuing our experiment with putting everything online in 2 weeks. Never thought I'd see it. Never hoped to see it, but here we go. So now that I know where the link to that video, or what the link to that video is, I can go to another tool in the Rich Content Editor here called Insert Edit Media. And I get this source box here. I can just paste that share URL from YouTube, the web address of that video, click OK, and bang, look at that. That's called a video embed. I didn't actually load the video into Canvas. The video still lives at YouTube. It's still sitting at YouTube. But this is a fancy link to it. My students can click on this link, click on a link to this video and play
Hi
it.
everyone, and welcome to Introduction to Screencasting.
and stop it and start it and so on. They can full screen it. Ugh, that's way more of a close-up of me than you ever need. When I retired, I stopped having my hair cut because my wife had threatened to cut off her beautiful long hair. And I made a deal with her that I wouldn't cut my hair if she wouldn't cut hers. And you see the result. I might have thought a little more carefully before I said that, but hey, I like the result. I like her hair, so. And I'm an old guy. Nobody cares what I look like anymore. So she likes it, and she's the only one I really care about in that regard. So, all right, so there's a video embedded. Very useful. And this doesn't have to be a video you made. You can find a gajillion different videos on YouTube, and you can do it without even leaving the rich content editor. You can click on this little icon right here and search for a subject area like chemistry. I'm a chemist by training, so I'll search for that. And just press enter on the keyboard and found 0 results. I think that's unlikely. This gets a little cranky sometimes if everything's really busy. Yeah, it's just not going to talk to me right now. Also, YouTube keeps changing things around, and sometimes Canvas and YouTube get a little out of sync. But normally you can search for any subject matter that you might want to find on YouTube. And there's a ton of useful instructional content on YouTube, along with the cat videos. And you can pull it in and embed it right in your Canvas page, and your students can click on it and watch it. Another type of content you might put into this Canvas page is a link. A link to either some content, a website somewhere out on the web, or to something that's inside your course. Like, I don't know, for an external link, since this is a screencasting course, there's a famous resource out there called TechSmith's Guide to Screencasting. TechSmith is the company that practically invented screencasting and still creates the best tools for doing it. So I can just search for TechSmith Screencasting Guide. Probably help if I spelled screencasting right. third try. Screencasting guides. Sorry. I know it's excruciating having to watch me type. I can search for that, and there it is. That's what I'm looking for. I can go to that resource, and when I get there, at the top of the page here is, in the address line of my browser, is the URL, the web link for that. So I can just highlight that, copy it to my clipboard, go back to Canvas, and I can type something here to anchor that link. I can just say guide to screencasting, highlight that, click the link to URL button, the hyperlink button, paste that URL in. It's huge. You don't want to have to try to retype it, but Canvas doesn't care. Then you insert the link, and now, ooh, shoot. My bad. I hit enter while the thing was still highlighted. That's a no-no in this editor. It will wipe out whatever you've typed. So let me get that URL in there again. Same process again. And now it's safe for me to hit enter. Now if a student comes along, clicks on that link after I save this page, They click on that link and they're going to go right to that resource that I found and that I linked in for them. I can go back in, and not only can I link to content outside of Canvas, I can link to content that is inside of Canvas. I can go to course, I can go to my links tab here. I can go to course navigation, modules, and now that's a link to my course modules. If I save this, the student comes and clicks on that, they're going to go straight to my modules that I'm building. So this is all useful stuff for the students. And I could keep building out this getting started module, but at some point I'll want to start putting some actual course content in there. So I can make a new module just by clicking that plus module button there. And let's call this topic 1. It could be week 1, chapter 1, or anything. You can call it anything you want. I'm going to call it Why Screencasting, because that was my first module in my screencasting course. Why would you bother? I can add that module. And I could, you saw me put that link to that screencasting guide in this page here, in the welcome page, but I could also just put that into my Why Screencasting module. So they have another place they can find it. That would be an external URL, in this case, a web link. I just paste that URL in again. Yep, I still have that one. Give it a name. Usually I like to load web links in a new tab so that it's easier for students to get back to Canvas. Then click Add Item, and there's a web link outside of a page. It's just in the module by itself. And if the student clicks on that, they go to that, they're told to open it in a new window by clicking that box, and then they go right to that resource yet again. So here we've got the 3 most common types of content items that you're going to put into a Canvas module. A file, which you uploaded from your local computer, a page which you created on Canvas, or maybe got from a colleague or from the Canvas Commons, and then a web link linking out to content out on the web outside of Canvas somewhere, like your websites are. And now you just rinse and repeat. You keep adding modules and adding links to those modules, and eventually you'll have all of the course content on Canvas that you want to share. And the whole process may take less time than I've spent talking about this to you up to now this afternoon. It really goes quite rapidly. But links to content are not the only things we can put into a Canvas module. We can also put links to assessments, like quizzes or homework assignments, into Canvas. And let me show you a little bit of something, show you how to do that. Let's say I wanted to put a quiz here in this first topic module. I can just click the plus sign to add something to the module and select quiz. I don't have any quizzes, so I'll have to create a new one. Give the quiz name. We'll call it Why Screencasting Quiz. And add the item. Obviously, it's an empty quiz, so as I had to with the page up here, I'll have to click on the name of the quiz and go to a quiz page, a blank quiz that's been created for me. and I'll need to edit it to add information to it. Under the Details tab, I have a bunch of options for the test I can select. I can select whether it's graded, whether it has a time limit. Maybe I want to give students multiple chances to take it or not. And I can put a due date on it, like next Tuesday. And there's more detail there that we just don't have time to go into right now, but that you can look through. It's not too cryptic. And then when I want to add questions to the test, I go to the Questions tab, and I can type in questions by just clicking New Question. I can put any of these types of questions into a test: multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blank, multiple blanks, multiple answers. Students hate those. Multiple drop downs, matching, numerical answer. These are all objective questions, which means that you can, when you create the question, you give Canvas the right answer. You tell it which one is the right answer, and it will grade these questions for you. So Canvas will grade objective tests for you. There are tests that contain only objective questions without you having to get out the Scantron sheets or the answer keys or anything like that. The grade just appears in your grade book as soon as the student submits the test. And when I say it can grade it in like a microsecond. Saves you a lot of work. I know a lot of people who give their tests in Canvas even though they're teaching in the classroom, because they don't want to waste classroom time on it. And the students can take the test on their own time. So let's say this is a multiple choice question. How about which of the following is a screencasting tool? Question mark. You got spell check in here too. Isn't that nice? There's your question text. Now, as the multiple choice question, you got some possible answers you have to type in. And I might type in Zoom, what we're using right now. Another one called Snagit. Camtasia. Or all of the ever popular, all of the above. They all have made more multiple choice questions than you ever want to think about. So you just, instead of typing them into Word, you just type them into Canvas. In this way, separating the question text from the possible answers. And then you tell Canvas which answer is right. When it gets to the point where it can answer that without us, then we're in trouble because it doesn't need us anymore to teach. Let's hope that doesn't happen in our lifetimes. But I tell Canvas that all of the above is the right answer by just going up here and looking at the correct answer is by default opposite the first possible answer, but you can just move down from there and click in that same column lower down and change which selection is the correct answer. And then update, and you can add extra answers if you need to. And just quick update the question. And there's your first multiple choice question. If you want to see a little bit more about what it looks like, you can just click that box. And there's your first multiple choice question. Now you can just keep adding questions to that test. If you happen to be lucky enough to have some test banks, some question banks that have been supplied to you by a colleague or a publisher, you can go looking in those. And oh, look, there are some question banks in this course. I didn't clean it out quite completely earlier. And here's a question bank that has some questions about screencasting in it. And I can just look through these questions and I can select one or more of them. And scroll down to the bottom of the list and then add those questions to the test. So now I've got despite this saying question 4 here, I've got 3 questions in my test. And I can just keep going, selecting more, typing in more questions, selecting questions from a question bank. I can even, if I have enough questions in question banks, I can create what's called a question group, which will allow me to have Canvas randomly select questions from a question bank so that it can provide a different set of questions to every student. So no 2 students get the same test. That's not something I have time to show right now, but I just mentioned that as a possibility. And once you're done, you click Save, and we have tutorials on that. You click Save, and bingo. Now we have a quiz. If I publish the quiz, students can take it. Publish in Canvas just means make it visible to students. If I go back to my modules again, I can always get back there through this modules link. There's a link to that quiz, and it's published. This little green circle with white check tells me that. But whoa, there's other stuff that's not published. If I want students to see any of this stuff, I have to publish both the modules and the contents of the modules. And those little check mark icons make it real easy for you to see what's published and what's not. So all of this is now published and available to students. And there's our first assessment for students that so we're able to test them in Canvas. We can also have them turn in homework assignments. I can put a homework assignment in here. That's an assignment to Canvas. And I don't have any yet, so I can create a new assignment here right from the module. And I can give it a name, like Define Screencasting, and add that item. But again, the item is empty. It's a blank assignment right now, so I need to click on its name and go to edit it, just like I did with the page and with the quiz. I flesh it out by editing it. I have to put some instructions for the students on how to fulfill what I want them to do in this assignment. So provide a definition of screencasting, including applications for the technique and examples of screencasting tools. You get a little background noise there. I took care of that. All right. That's enough instruction for right now. I have to set a number of points that this is worth in my grading scheme. I have to tell Canvas how I want my students to submit this. In our case, that's almost certainly going to be online because they can't come into campus and turn it into us. If they tried, someone would probably haul them off in a paddy wagon right now. So they're going to turn it in to us on Canvas, either by typing the answer in a text box that we supply them, the text entry option, or uploading a file that they create offline and then upload into a Dropbox we provide them as part of this assignment automatically. You can even give them both options if they care to choose. If it's a writing assignment, you can do plagiarism review through Unicheck automatically. And there are a lot of other detail here, but again, we might put a due date in there. That's all you really have to do, and click Save. Now let me go back and edit the assignment again. Well, actually, I really don't have to. that's a complete assignment. It's not a real complex one, but it's a complete assignment. It's ready to use. I do have to publish it if the students are going to see it. And if I go back to the module, it's ready for the student to take. If I want to see what that looks like to the student, or if I ever want to see what my course looks like to my students, I can go to the home link up here at in the top of the menu, course menu, and I can select Student View. And that will show me the course exactly as it looks to my students. And this time, if I hadn't published something, it wouldn't be showing up here. But it looks like I remembered to publish everything this time. That's a miracle. The student wanted to take that quiz, they just click there, take the quiz. Which of the font, that's all the above. There's an essay question. Online meet. Here's an example of a drop-down, multiple drop-down question. Online meeting tools, such as only Zoom is an online meeting tool, can be used to record screencasts for narrated PowerPoints, software demos, grading feedback. All of the above is true. And then the student just submits the quiz. They get a timer here that's running that tells them how much time they have left, and they can see immediately whether they answered all the questions or not. And then they just submit the quiz, and that's all there is to it. Very simple for them, very simple for you. We go back to the modules. The student can click into that homework assignment, assuming it's been made available to them. They see what the assignment is about and what the instructions are, and when they're ready, they can go to submit the assignment by clicking that button, and they get this this interface here, this submission interface, which has a file Dropbox that they can upload to, or they can just type their answer right into the rich content editor, including, if they like, pictures and videos and everything else that they might use. But if they've done this, if they've typed up, say, a Word document offline, they can choose that file. I think I have a sample for that here somewhere. They just have to find it on their hard drive. There's a screencasting definition file. Open it. And if they needed to submit more than one file, they could do that, or they could just submit the whole assignment, and they finish their homework. And that's dirt simple for them. Students love Canvas because it's a very simple interface for students. It's beautiful. Rarely do we have students have any trouble with Canvas. All right, so you say, great, I've got some submissions in there from my students. Where do I find them? Well, the easiest place to find them is in your grade book. This bottom, and I don't have much in the way of assessments in here yet, so the grade book is very short, but each column here is an assessment, and each row is a student. And oops, it looks like I have an unpublished version of that screencasting quiz somewhere. Oh well, I can get rid of that later. But here are submissions from students. So that's how you know who's turned in something and what they've turned in. The quiz here, that's our screencasting quiz we just made. If that quiz had been all objective questions, all multiple choice matching, true, false, things like that, Canvas would have graded it, and you just have a number of points that the student earned here. But that one had an essay question in it, if you look closely, and as we went through, and the machine can't grade that. Again, once the machine can grade that, we're probably obsolete. So let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. We'll go to To grade that, we click on that little icon there that tells us there's a quiz submission. Click the right arrow, go to the speed grader, which is your grading interface in Canvas. There's the student's quiz. You can see the objective questions are already graded. The essay question, of course, is not. That's not overly informative, so I'm going to give that a 0. I just type in the grade, click Update Scores. I can type comments if I want to, and then submit that, and go back to the grade book, and there's the student's grade. The definition, you can do pretty much the same thing. Go to the speed grader. You get the actual submission. Again, you can enter a grade. You can add a comment. This student was just awarded an unusually high grade. Whoops, because I mistyped it. So let's say that's worth 8 points out of 10. And I can add a comment and I can submit that. So that's how you grade. That's really the quick version. And there's the grade. So that's the quick explanation for where do you find your submissions and how do you grade them. We have an entire 2-hour session on grading in Canvas and managing the grade book, which I just finished doing. And I'm going to have a session for that during spring break next week, if you're interested. The Online Learning Pathways will be sending out an email to everybody with that time and so on. And you're welcome to come if you are interested in a lot more information about this. But that's just the real basics, the real high spots of assessment in Canvas. One more thing that I want to show you that you can put into the modules in your course. Probably the other major feature of Canvas. If we can get through most of these features in a couple hours, it's not that complicated, right? Another thing that you can have your students do in Canvas, in addition to view and read content and take assessments, is to carry out class discussions between themselves, perhaps with you involved as well, in an asynchronous manner. That is, in such a way that they don't all have to be online at the same time. We call that a discussion forum. And you can add a discussion forum here by going to your Add menu and picking Discussion. We don't have one in there yet, so we'll add a new topic. And this one might be what could I do with screencasting? Add item, and they go into it, they get that very badly typed question there, and an opportunity to reply to you. And to give you a better feel for this, let me show you a fleshed out version of this in another course, another sandbox course. You go back to my dashboard and find my old sandbox I've used for years on this, and go to the discussions. I can access the discussion forums through the discussion link over here, as well as through the modules. And there's what could I do with screencasting forum. If I go into that, you can see what it typically looks like. The students read this question here, or read these instructions, and then to answer the question I posed here, they click reply, and they get a rich content editor. So they can not only type text here, they can embed video, they can embed pictures, they can put links to files in here, they can attach files. This can be a very rich discussion. But in this case, this is a simple text post, which is probably the most common type. The student followed directions. 3 ideas for instructional applications. Well, this student has given 3 possibilities, and everybody can read it. Then another student has read it and had a question, so they replied to this post rather than to my original question up here. They said, how long can your PowerPoint lectures be? And you can tell just by looking that this post is a reply to that one, because the little avatar icon is indented under this one. So this one, it's a little off to the right here. So this was a reply to that. And here this same student posted their own reply to my original question up here. And then another student asked a question of him, and then he came back in and replied. So those 2 actually got into a conversation with one another, even though they were never online together at the same time in all probability. So you can have, and this, by the way, this linked series, a linked string of messages here is called a thread. And the discussion forum will display the threads grouped together like this, so you can follow a discussion that has taken place over a period of time with not everybody posting at the same time. So it can be an exceptionally rich class discussion, even though the people never see one another and maybe never hear each other's voices. Not only can it be richer than discussions you hold in class, but it can be, it doesn't take any class time. And people who are shy about speaking up in class may well be much more happy about posting to a discussion forum. So that's the third form, or another form of activity that students can carry out. And it's the third type of assessment you can put into Canvas, because you can make this gradable and require students to do it and give them a grade for their participation. So this is how you can give a rational class participation grade. And this discussion, some discussion forums, and you can have multiple discussion forums, but some discussion forums are a part of almost any online course, and many on-campus courses that are being web enhanced by Canvas, because it's something you just often don't have time for in class, but that is very valuable to the students. The last thing I'd like to show you here, the last thing I'm going to have time to show you, is how you can communicate with your students in Canvas asynchronously. So you don't all have to be online at the same time like you would have to be if you were communicating back and forth in Zoom. And the discussion forum, of course, is a big part, is a big option there. This is a communications tool as well as a grading tool or an assessment. But in addition to this, you have announcements in Canvas, which are like sort of like emails, except that you only have to send one copy of it and everybody can see that copy. You create an announcement, you type a title and some text, and you save it, just like writing an email, except that it doesn't go to anybody's email box. It just appears here in the announcements tool. And here are some older announcements I put in there. And the students can come in and read this when they next come into the course. As a matter of fact, when a student enters a course, at the top of the homepage, they'll usually see like the last 3 announcements that you've posted. So their attention is called to them. And also Canvas will sometimes, depending on the student's notification settings that they create, Canvas will often notify the student by email or other means when an announcement is posted in your class. But you can't depend on that because you can't control it. The students control what notifications they receive. We have a whole seminar on notifications and settings in Canvas where we go into detail on that. But anyway, the announcement is a good way to send a message to the students. But even more powerful is the inbox tool over here in the system menu. It's over here because it's not part of any one course. All of the emails, if you will, or messages that you send or receive in Canvas go through this inbox tool in all of your courses. And you're most welcome. And you can read your messages here just by clicking on them. You can send new messages. To send a message, you have to select a course that you want to send the message to. Come on, Canvas. Oh, come on. This can be a little twitchy sometimes for some reason. There we go. Let's see if I can find a course that actually has some students in it. That was over here. There we go. Like I say, I don't know why that gets twitchy sometimes, but it does. There's one that has some students in it. I can choose who to send to by clicking this little icon here. I can send to students. I can send to all the students in the class or individual students. I just put in a subject line and a message body and click send. That message goes to the students' Canvas inbox, but also onto their personal email inbox at whatever email address they've given the district. And if they reply, their reply comes back to your Canvas inbox and also goes to your personal email address that you have registered with Canvas. So it's an end-to-end communication tool, really powerful, really a key communication tool in Canvas. Okay, well, I'm 1 minute over. Sorry about that. That was pretty much what I wanted to share with you today. It is a hit the high spots, and I did leave out some things entirely, but hopefully you have at this point, if you didn't before, a general idea of what you can do with Canvas and a little bit of knowledge about how to get started. You have your Canvas shells for your current courses. You can start loading content in right now. You can start making tests and making homework assignments to share with your students when they come back from spring break, or even before if you if you want, because Canvas doesn't shut down for spring break. Canvas never shuts down. Back in 2007, when the great fires happened, the only part of the district that still worked were the online and web enhanced classes. We were using another system at the time, a WebCT, not Canvas. Canvas didn't exist then, but we were able to keep the online and web enhanced courses going to at least some degree, even though the entirety of Southern California, south of Encinitas, was shut down by the fires. We were able to keep things going. Canvas is always there for you.
Dave?
Yes.
Hello. Thank you so much for all you're doing. I really appreciate it. I know it's a lot of repetitive work for you. It is appreciated.
I hope it helped. And thank you.
In your inbox, can you delete any of those? I mean, do they just accumulate, or is there a way you can delete those messages, those email messages that you get?
You know, I'm not sure you can delete them, as a matter of fact.
They just always accumulate?
I've never noticed. You can archive them. You can archive them, and I'm trying to remember how you do that.
Well, that was just a thought. I just had an idea.
Oh, no, that's a really good question. And I'm not sure about that. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yes. Once you bring it up, you have a delete button here.
Oh, okay, so you can trash your individual ones. Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You can,
okay.
or you can archive them by downloading them to your local computer. Sorry, I'm
just for back.
Brain fart there. Sorry, I wasn't thinking about that. So yes, but you have to do them. But there's some way to do that in bulk too. I have a whole bunch of them. Oh yeah, Now I've selected several of them. Now I can delete them all or archive them all by clicking the
Okay, so just
checkbox
select.
there.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Took me a minute to remember.
Of course. Yeah, it would get pretty big.
Yeah, otherwise, well, mine's immense right now because I've got it messages in there from 3 years. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I never go to delete them. But on the other hand, it won't send you nasty messages about your mailbox is full either.
Yeah, I know. District does it all the time. Your mailbox is full.
I get that every day.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, no, you're not finished. Go ahead and finish.
No, I had a question to ask Dave. I sent him a chat earlier about something on Zoom, so I just need to ask
I
him
tell you
that.
what, speaking of earlier questions, I did ask people to put questions into the chat tool. And if they have been good enough to do so, I'd like to take those now. And if it's your question you want to ask a follow-on or something like that, that's fine. But let me take those so that everybody has an equal chance of getting out of here before 5 o'clock. Typically in these sessions over the last couple of weeks, I have spent an hour to 2 hours answering questions at the end of every session. And I will not leave till I get all of these questions answered. You're, of course, not constrained to wait on that. The recording, it is being recorded. You can look up later, but it's probably easier if you get the answer now. So let me go back and see if I can't answer these questions. I have an accreditation question regarding student identity. Margaret, are you still here?
Yes, but I forgot to put the question. And so later on in the chat, I did ask the 2 questions. So
well, that's okay. You got in line first. I'll answer it right now. I'm not going to penalize you for that.
okay, sounds good.
What were the questions?
Down, I posted them at 2:06.
Okay.
Our accreditation, we're dental, and our
Gotcha.
accreditation is wanting to know how each student that is enrolled in our class is verified and who the participants, if they are who they really are, that's their main concern. So how can we prove that in
Right.
those students that are enrolled, are they really the true participant?
Right, and that is a classic issue in online education. And in part, we know that at least this was the student who's taking your class at least was an enrolled student at the district, or they wouldn't have access to your course because they wouldn't have been enrolled in it. And each student account is protected by a password. So only that student can get into that account, unless of course that student gives their password to somebody else and that person masquerades as them, which is something that can happen. For the longest time, we were able to get by on that and just say, okay, this password protected, only that student can get in. That's sufficient verification. And the Department of Education is still allowing us to get by on that. But in the case of a professional accrediting agency that may have higher standards in that regard, there are other things that you can do. In order to verify the student's identity, one possibility would be to borrow from another industry that's common in Southern California. I'm not going to get into that. You can make them send you a picture. You can put an assignment in Canvas and require them to submit a picture of themselves with holding up a picture ID next to their face.
Okay.
That will verify their identity there. To verify whether or not they are the one taking the test, though, as say in the class, is a little bit more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have an online proctoring tool. The district's never been able to afford one. So you don't have that, where the student's identity can be verified when they, as they take the test. But probably the best way to do this would be to include a synchronous component in your Canvas course using Zoom. And like we're doing right now, Zoom and Canvas are very complementary. They add, between them, they add a great deal to any online teaching and learning experience. And you can require the students, as a professional requirement, to attend a Zoom meeting. And you see, and you can do the ID thing there and so on, but you can get to know them that way and know their capabilities. And that makes it much harder for them to hire a substitute to stand in for them in the course.
How would that
I'm sorry?
How would Zoom help by identifying the student when they're taking their exam?
Well, it won't help when they're taking their exam, but you can also minimize the chance that the student is someone else by sticking to what are called authentic assessments in your class, which basically means project and writing assignment type things rather than multiple choice quizzes. It's difficult to secure a multiple choice quiz online without a proctoring tool, an online proctoring tool. But things like writing assignments and so on, the students participate in discussion forums, typically in the course as well. And you have lots of opportunity. And if you interact with them in a Zoom session, you get a pretty good idea for their language skills and their in the discussion forum. You can evaluate their writing style and ability and so on. So if a student then turns in a writing assignment that is clearly not their work, they can, it's quite obvious. And that can help with identity verification.
Okay.
Also, you can use plagiarism checking tools. We have one with Canvas that will check and see if it's their work. And if it's not their work, that's a red flag. That perhaps it's not that student, that they bought the exam on the paper online, or someone else did it for them. And that paper was turned in by another student somewhere else, and then it gets matched. And so it's no one answer I can give you to that. It's a collection of practices and tools that you can use to make it very difficult for a student to have someone else masquerade for them.
Okay.
And generally that is accepted by most, that kind of combination of effort is accepted by most accreditation organizations. If they absolutely require an exam proctoring tool, unfortunately, we just don't have one. And that's a conversation you need to have with your dean or your department head and move that up the line. That's something the district could have, but with the current, it's very expensive. And with the current budget situation, of course, there's not been a lot of movement toward acquiring that sort of thing, but sooner or later, they're probably going to be forced to. And it's going to be a process. I'm just trying to be as frank and as informative as I can here on that subject. It's a great question. Great question.
Thank you.
I have a question attached to that one, Dave.
Good.
So how many students can we get in a gallery at one time?
Oh, on Zoom?
Yes.
I think it's like 45 or something like that, 45 or 50.
Well, what are the possibilities of having students set their computer or their phone somewhere where they can be seen during the test?
That's an ingenious idea.
That's what I was going to do.
Thank you.
And then they have to show their ID. So I think it is a problem. And to be fair to the students who are not cheaters, we don't want it set up so people can cheat easily.
Well, no, that you do not want to do. And there are techniques with online objective exams that you can use to minimize that possibility.
Yeah.
You can set tight time limits.
Uh-huh.
Like if it's a multiple choice test, you give them about 1 minute per question.
Yeah.
They don't have time for any hanky-panky. They can't even ask, if there's somebody sitting in the room with them, they can't even ask them for the answer. They won't finish. So that will help. Creating randomized tests using question groups make it very difficult for them to share answers online or later. So there are techniques you can use to minimize that probability, but you can't totally eliminate it. But I'm here to tell you, I've been worked over by experts. You can't eliminate it in the classroom either. I've seen some truly astoundingly ingenious efforts at cheating. And I bet you have too. So,
don't want to share on that one.
So there's no such thing as absolute certainty that you haven't been cheated on, but you can make it difficult enough that it's not likely to happen very often or be very effective in the long run.
Thank you.
You bet. But I love it. You know, you're right. Zoom would be an ideal way to do it. You could require them to take the test at a particular time and have them all there. And even if there were more than would fit on one screen at a time, Zoom, if there are more than about 50 attendees in the meeting, Zoom will create a second screen of webcams.
Yeah.
And you can go from screen to screen. It would, of course, require all students to have a webcam, and that's not necessarily the case.
But they can use their phone.
They can use their phone, and they can take the test on their phone. So yes, you could do that. If they have the Canvas student app, they can take the test on the phone. So that would work. I like that.
So do I. How can I get the program director and the dean to hear this response? It's just been recorded.
It will be available at approximately, what's the time hack right now? It's 4:17. So we started at 2 o'clock roughly. So at about 2 hours and 17 minutes into the recording, or maybe 2 hours and 10 minutes, so we've been talking about it for a while, they could see this. This recording will be online shortly. It will be, that's a really good question that I saw in the chat tool here somewhere. I want to share that with you. You can find this on, hopefully tomorrow, on our on-demand online website for videos at the district. The address is sdccdolvid.org. Let me pull that up in a bigger version. That's it right there, sdccdolvid.org. Let me put it in the chat tool. Remember, you can save that chat log. It's in the chat tool. And you'll find these under Workshop Archives here at the top. Just click here, and all of them will come up. And they'll be hopefully labeled well enough for you to tell which one is which. This would be Canvas Overview 3/27/2020. There's several Canvas Overview recordings in there, but this one would be there. So they could view it there. Or we could get to, if it got to be, where they'd like to really talk about it, we could just have a separate Zoom meeting for that purpose. And I don't speak for the Online Learning Pathways department at the district. I'm a contractor now, not an employee.
Right.
But I could provide information, but not anything official. Yes.
I did mention to the program director to go back to her email and look up Mary email and then contact Mary. And maybe she can also help the
Yes.
program.
Yeah, she can refer the question to the dean of online learning pathway, or of online and distributed learning. Brian has just arrived and is now in charge of the department, and he could help with that.
Is that
Brian Weston. Pardon?
Is he at the district?
He is, well, he's with Mary. So actually, nobody's at the district right now.
I know.
Everybody's working from home. He's actually up in Santa Clarita, I think. He hasn't finished moving down here yet. He just started working like 2 weeks ago. But he's reachable through district email, and Mary can pass it on to him or give you his email address or whatever. So you can contact him. He would be the one to ask about things like that. He's the official voice of online learning pathways at the district.
What is Brian's last name?
Weston.
Thank you.
You bet. Excellent. Good questions. This is the best, to me, this is the best part of any of these sessions. I think probably we do more good answering these questions than anything else, but you got to have some context from within which to ask the questions. So that's what the other is for. Using a smartphone as a whiteboard works great. Yeah, that will work. You're somewhat limited in terms of what you can get on there because of the size of the screen and so on, but you can draw and write simple messages and so on a smartphone and share it through Zoom. That's great to hear. Okay, we just talked about student identity verification, and yeah, I think Zoom could be a really handy tool there. Expanding on that idea, students can get their own Zoom accounts for free, and they could record themselves taking a test and send it to you. You could require that. That would require a lot more effort on the part of the students, though, but they might be willing to try it if they didn't all have to be online at the same time. Just an idea. I'm sorry about going so fast. Got a plea not to go quite so fast. I'm sorry. It's difficult to fit everything into 2 hours without moving along pretty well. That's why we record it, so you can go back and look at it again, and you can slow it down and think about it. Also, a lot of what I've talked about today, we have shorter tutorials for in this on-demand video site. If you want Canvas tutorials, you can just go in and type in the search box, type Canvas, press enter, and you get all our Canvas tutorials. And there's a ton of them. You can just page through those, or if you want something more specific about like testing in Canvas, you can type Canvas test, and you can narrow it down, and so on. So that will help with that too, I hope. And I apologize for having to move so expeditiously through this. I added my Zoom account link to Canvas twice accidentally. Been there, done that. This course I was using, you may have noticed, had multiple examples of that in there. How can I delete? Yeah, how can you get rid of that? Okay, you can go to, and this is a Canvas question, one of the best ways to integrate Canvas and Zoom is just to put a link to your personal Zoom meeting room into the Canvas course menu using something called the redirect tool in Canvas apps. And if I find Canvas again here, let's go back into this course I was in. And I think it had more than one of them in there. Here's the course menu. Yeah, I've got Actually, I don't have multiples in this one, but I got another course. I know I do have too many in there, too many in. Let's try that one.
I forgot to hit the home button to refresh before and that's what happened.
Been there, done that. Don't feel lonely. So here I've got three links to my personal meeting room here. What can I do about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get rid of them. Okay.
I can go to the settings tool, the settings link in the course menu, and I can go to navigation.
Okay.
And I can't really delete it, but I can disable it so it doesn't show up for the students. I can do that by clicking this little icon here next to it and clicking disable. Or I can just drag it down below the line, click and drag it, and the students will never see it.
But it will still show up on the left-hand side on ours, then? It'll still show up there? It won't have that little...
In this case, I don't think it will. If I save those changes, and now look, yeah, those have just vanished. The behavior...
I didn't hit save. Oh.
and you got to hit save. And then you have to refresh the screen sometimes too to see the result. But now I've only got one link like that here. And
so which one do you hit to refresh it? Which one do you hit to refresh it? Is it the home?
Oh, refresh the web page. It's up at the top. In the web browser controls, it's a little circle arrow that refreshes, reloads the page, and the change shows up. Otherwise, the next time if you left Canvas and came back in again, the next time you came back into that course, the change would have been visible. Okay.
God, you're wonderful. You're wonderful.
I'm just trying to be helpful and show you how to fix all the mistakes I've made in the past. What is your email? I'm sorry. What is your email?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
I just want to ask about any more Zoom training for next week. Will you be having anything next week?
Not a Zoom training next week, but we do have some more scheduled for the following week. However, I will be running those meetings in Zoom, and at the end of every meeting, I have this free question period where I'll answer questions about anything that I know the answer to. Meaning of life is 42, for instance. And those of you who have read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but I'll be happy to answer questions about it. We did a Zoom session this morning, so it'll be a little while before we do one again. I'll ask the dean. Is that something you'd like to have next week?
I would love to have a Zoom question and answer thing. That would be wonderful.
Well, indeed. The question, I'll certainly answer questions about Zoom. I'll answer them right now. But tomorrow, Saturday morning, that's tomorrow, right? I think I know what day it is. From 9:30 to noon, I'm doing a general question session. And I'll answer questions on anything. And then I'm doing the same thing again on Sunday afternoon from 1:30 to 4:30. So just drop in and ask away, or ask the questions right now. Let me get through these ones in the chat tool, and then I'll just keep taking questions. I will not go anywhere until I've answered them all.
Well, I'd like to work a little bit more before I ask some more questions. Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, what's your email and can we ask you a question later? You betcha. That's the other answer to that question. Is you can email me anytime. I'll be happy to get back to you. Right. I've been online in Zoom sessions for 7 to 8 hours a day for the last 2 weeks. So it's been a little bit of a challenge keeping up with my email, but I hope to do better on that this weekend. I've been responding, but I think I don't know, I've answered everything that's come in up to yesterday afternoon sometime, I think, at this point. And I'll work on that some more later. But I'll get back to you just as quick as I can. And it should get better because we're slowing down the drumbeat of these sessions now. The numbers are getting smaller. There's like 11 of you left right now. We had sessions 2 weeks ago of 200 people at a time. So apparently we're finally satisfying some of the need. So we're not going to be offering these quite as frequently, though we will continue offering them, both the introductory sessions and more intermediate sessions on Canvas and Zoom. But I'll have a little more time to keep up with my email in the coming days, especially next week. So I'll get back to you. And my email, I'm in the district email directory, but my email is dgiberso, DGIBERSO, no N. The district can't afford more than 8 characters, at sdccd.edu. There's no really good reason why they can't have email aliases more than 8 characters, but I guess it's a budget thing. I'll get into trouble. Tell me to shut up. Is Dave's email. And that's in the chat tool right at the bottom. Remember, you can save that. If you want to write it down, here it is in bigger letters. dgiberso, no N, at sdccd.edu. You want to jot that down. And please, yes, email me, and I'll certainly do my very best to answer your questions. Oops, I got to go back up to the top. Sorry, work my way down. I got that taken care of. Which workshop is this? I just logged on. I hope that was obvious by the time we got much further in it. This was an overview of Canvas, or the nickel tour of Canvas in 2 hours. How do we use a Zoom with another district like Southwestern? You can just use. Typically, you would have one Confer Zoom account, one account provided to you, a Zoom account provided to you by the State Chancellor's Office through Confer Zoom. You can use that account with any of the campuses. It's all paid for out of the same pot. You don't have to have one account for Southwestern and one account for Mesa and another one for Grossmont or something like that. You can use the same one for all of them. And it won't, there's no, for that matter, you could use it if you taught at SDSU or UCSD and you wanted to use it there. It's no big deal. It's all paid for out of the state budget, so there's no ethical problem there. I don't know about using it to communicate with your family and friends or something. It might be more ethical to get a separate free Zoom account to do that, though you're not going to cost the your school or your district or the state any more money by using your Zoom account for other purposes, because they don't pay by how much you use it. They just pay by the account. So you're not actually going to be using any resources or using any funding. So that's up to you. When one mistypes an assignment into a module, how do you get rid of it? I've had problems erasing instructions permanently. And I think we might have touched on that question earlier, Oscar. But basically, if you go into a module,
Hey Cheryl, how you doing? Oh, all right, just not finishing up my class.
okay, just muted that. So let's see, here's an assignment in a module. To get that assignment out of the module, all you have to do is go to the right-hand end of the line here and click the menu and remove that. That wouldn't delete that assignment from the course, that would just remove the link to it from the module. If you wanted to delete that assignment entirely from the course, you would go to the Assignments tool in the course menu, and you'd find that assignment. There it is. And you'd go out to a similar context menu out here on the right, and there's an option to delete it from the course entirely. So that's how you would delete an assignment. Same thing with a quiz or a discussion forum or anything like that. You can also delete pages out that way, and files from the either from the Pages tool or the Files tool. So that's how you would permanently delete something or completely delete something from the course. How does a person link an account to Zoom Confer, even if your email is from another district? How does a person make a Zoom video, have captions, and is there an auto computer-generated caption, or is that only through YouTube or Google? Okay, that's several questions. And let me take them in order. What if you have, I know many of you may teach at multiple institutions throughout the Southland area. How do you handle your Zoom account? Well, as I said, you can certainly use the same account at each institution, but that does raise certain complexities in integrating your Zoom account with your Canvas account. There is a Confer Zoom link in your Canvas course menu, which is automatically put in there, which will only work if the email address you have associated with your Canvas account is the same as the email address that you gave Confer Zoom when you signed up for your free Confer Zoom Pro account, which would be your district email address, your EDU email address. Otherwise, Confer Zoom won't give you an account. So what if you teach at Grossmont and Southwestern and here? Well, obviously, you're going to have to pick one email account to integrate with your Zoom account. They call it the identity email. And that will work fine with one college, but that means this Confer Zoom app's not going to work at the other two colleges and their Canvas systems. You can use Zoom and Canvas perfectly without using this Confer Zoom app at all, which I'll show you what I'm talking about. Actually, Chrome hates that app. It won't even load it. You have to insist. And this is what it looks like. You can launch meetings from in here. You can schedule meetings. You can find your recordings and things like that later. But everything that you do with this Confer Zoom app, you can do at the Zoom website. So you don't have to use this. And in order to be able to use this app in Canvas at all three institutions, you'd have to have 3 separate Confer Zoom accounts, one for each institution. And that's not a very efficient allocation of state resources, I would say. But probably if you register 3 times at Confer Zoom, they'll give you 3 accounts. But then how are you going to keep track of which one you're using when? I just don't, when I teach Zoom, I don't teach the use of this app at all. Because it's glitchy. It forces you to use your district email address as your email address associated with your Canvas account. And that can be a real pain because Canvas can get quite chatty. You can get a lot of emails from Canvas. Emails sent to you by students, notifications, Canvas telling you that this happened and that happened in Canvas. I get several emails a day from Canvas, quite a few emails a day from Canvas. And and if I use my district email address, they just fill up my district email box before I could turn around. Not only that, but the emails from students and Canvas get mixed in with all the district spam that I get, that you get too. And it can be hard to find the messages from Canvas. So I don't use my district email address in Canvas. I use a Gmail address that I created personally, a free one, of course. And all my Canvas traffic goes there. And I love that. And the only downside to that is that I can't use this Confer Zoom app, which again, you can't do anything here that you can't do at the Zoom website. This is not a Zoom session, so I haven't showed you controlling Zoom at the through the Zoom website, but I just don't see the need for this, so I don't teach it. So I hope somewhere in the middle of all that you got some useful information. Sorry. Now, there was another question here, though. I don't want to forget that. How does a person make a Zoom video have captions? I assume you mean a Zoom recording that you're putting up on the web. Actually, it's very hard to avoid it, having Zoom having captions. When you record in Zoom, you have the option to record either to the Zoom cloud or your local computer. If you record to the Zoom cloud, the recording is automatically uploaded to Zoom without you having to do anything, and it will be captioned automatically there, and when the students link to it, they'll see the captions, and the captions will be quite good. You don't have to go in and edit a 2-hour string of captions. At least I would swear I don't bother. And I've taught captioning and things like that for years, and the automatic captioning has gotten so good that realistically it's adequate for hearing impaired students, my opinion. If, on the other hand, you record to your local computer in Zoom, you then have to find the Zoom recording is stored to your local computer, and you have to upload it to YouTube. That's real simple to do. I show that in how to do that in every Zoom introduction that I do, and I have lots of tutorials on our tutorial website to show you how to do that. Just search for Zoom recording or just scroll through the videos. Here's recording to your local computer in Zoom and loading it onto YouTube. So just a few minutes of instruction. It's not difficult to do. And then once it's up on YouTube, it will automatically be captioned also. I like to do it that way because I retain control of my recording rather than giving it to Zoom. But that's a personal matter. Both will work, and both will end up with a video that is automatically captioned that should be adequately accessible for hearing impaired students. All right, I think we've dealt with that question. How can I use some of the questions from previous exams on a new exam? Great question. Let me go into Canvas, into a course that has a number of exams in it. let's just go to quizzes, I guess. The short way to find your tests in Canvas is just to go to the quizzes tool. You can allow the students to do that too, or you can hide that quizzes tool so that they have to go through the modules, which is usually recommended, but that's up to you. So here's some quizzes. Now let's say I'm making a new quiz here. And I want to add questions to that quiz. If I want to use questions from old tests, I click Find Questions. And I get a list over here on the left-hand side of collections of questions that are available in this course. Some of those items are question banks that I've gotten from someplace, a publisher or something like that, but others are old tests. Canvas treats old tests in this sense just like it treats question banks. You can always go into go through this find question process and find an old test, find an old test in Canvas and select questions from it. And when you get to the bottom of the list, just add those questions. And now those questions are part of a new test and you can reuse them. So Canvas, like Blackboard did, treats old tests just like test banks. So you can pull questions into a new test from an old test just as easily as you can pull them from a question bank. I hope that answers that question. Can I delete or eliminate an exam after the students have taken it? No, 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 no. If you do that, you'll get rid of all the grades in the grade book. Deleting a test will remove all submissions for that test too. You may not delete, or you should not delete a test. It'll let you do it, though it'll warn you, say, you really want to do that? There are attempts there. That's not a good idea, but click OK, you know, if you really want to mess yourself over. So no, you don't want to do that. You can fix it so that tests no longer appear to students by in the details tab of a test, set an available until date. And if the, let's say the test was due, I didn't set a due date on this one. Let's say the test was due on the 31st. You could set a display until date for the same date and time. And once the time period, once the due date and time for the test is passed, the students can no longer get into the test. They can still see the link to it, but if they click on the link, it won't let them in. The only way you could prevent them from seeing the link would be to unpublish the test. To go into your quizzes tool, and unpublish it by just unchecking that there. Oh, wait a minute. Can't unpublish their student submissions. That's right, you can't unpublish a test that has student submissions because that would cause the gradebook column to disappear and the grades in their grade tool and the student's grade view would disappear. So no, once a test is on there and students have taken it, you can't delete it and you can't make it invisible. You can prevent students from accessing it and taking it again, but you can't just make it disappear to them. You could, if you had hidden the quizzes tool in the course menu, and if you removed you could remove the link to the quiz from the module. You'd have to do that manually, but you could go in and just remove the link to the module, the link to the quiz in the module, and Canvas will let you do that, and the grades will still be present in the grade book, but the students won't see the link to the quiz in the module anymore. So that would be as close as you could get to actually making that quiz invisible to students from here on in. And that's true only if you hide the quizzes tool from the students. So we kind of have to take what Canvas gives us. How can we see the recording of this session? Go to our online on-demand site and go to Workshop Archives. Here's here's an overview of Canvas from the 20th, but I've got a couple more that are ready to go up there. So they'll be there hopefully by tomorrow. I keep saying that, but yeah, I'll get them up there quickly. So they'll be right here. And the most recent ones are at the top. So this one, and I'll have this one dated so you can tell that it's the one from the 27th. But there are a lot of Canvas overview sessions in here from, yay. So you can always, there's one of at least one of everything we've done lately here to look at. It may not be the one you attended, but it'll be basically the same content with a different set of questions. So you might learn something from the other questions that you that didn't come up in today's questions. All right. Oh, and to view one of these recordings, of course, you just click on the link, click on the name of it, and it'll start playing. The video is actually on YouTube. This is just a convenient way of displaying the links for you so you can find them. We could do this in Canvas, except Canvas lacks a search tool, which I don't quite understand. So we use this. This is for those of you who are familiar with web development and so on. This is a WordPress site. Thank you, Francisco. I'm glad you feel a little better about it. And I'll be here when you have more questions and want more training. We'll keep offering these things. Can you please repeat how to insert a URL in a module? You betcha. Here's a module. What course am I in here? Let me see. Let me go back to the one that my sandbox I was playing in earlier, because I just clean that one out every time I finish a session. Come on. There we go. All right, here's a couple of modules. So if I want to put a web link into a module, all I do is click the plus sign at the top of the module to add a link to the module, to add a link to content or an assessment to the module. And a web link or an external URL is one of the options of things that I can add. An external URL is also called a hyperlink or a web link. Matter of fact, the only place I know it's called an external URL is in Canvas. So this is Canvas speak for a web link. You just put the URL, the web address for the link, into the box labeled URL. So if you wanted a link to the CNN website for some reason, you're teaching a current events or American government or some kind of recent American history or something, you just type or paste in the URL. I choose CNN as an example because it's short and easy to type, very easy to remember. CNN.com. You give it a page name like link to CNN. I'm not going to put a link to Fox in here. Sorry. Oops, don't go over there. Usually I like to load new tab, the web link in a new tab. You can try it both ways and see how you like the way it looks. But generally it's easier for the students if you load this in a new tab and then click Add Item. And there's the new web link. I'd publish it so my students could see it. And then the student could come in later and click on that link, and a new tab pops up in their browser. They do have to say, this site was opened in a new browser window, open link, open that tab. This is kind of awkward. I don't know why they do this. Blackboard didn't used to do this. It would just give you a little warning that you're going to a site outside Blackboard, but it would go to it. So that's kind of a pain, but that's Canvas in this regard. And there's the CNN website. Oh God, and I'm sorry, that was a bad choice. We didn't really want to think about that. And when the student's through with this, they can just close that tab. Hopefully they won't have as many tabs open as I do in this browser. And they can go right back to Canvas and just continue on with their work. So that's how you put an external URL into a module. How do I send a Zoom invitation from inside Canvas? Well, there's several ways.
Thank you so much.
You are certainly welcome. Good question. Thank you. How could I send a Zoom invitation from inside Canvas? Well, there's lots of ways to do that, as a matter of fact. You can use a Canvas announcement. You can add an announcement. You could say, Zoom meeting tomorrow. We'll meet in Zoom at 2 p.m. tomorrow. You might put in a date as well. I don't want to limit this. And then you can just create a link to your personal meeting room in Zoom. I can go and find my Zoom personal meeting link, copy that to my clipboard, go back to Canvas. I probably have to, well, actually I could just highlight part of this sentence and make that the hyperlink, or I could type more text down here and make that the hyperlink, but I can just highlight this, click the link to URL control, paste in my personal meeting room link, insert the link, and now when the student gets this, they've got the time and the date, and they just click on the link, and bada boom, they go right into your meeting. So that's one way to do it. I could equally easily put a link to your personal meeting room in a module, like your Getting Started module at the beginning of the course. I could take this, I could put an external URL in, just like we just saw. And I could paste, oops, missed, sorry. That's what I wanted, external URL. I can paste my Zoom personal meeting room link into the URL and say, this is my personal, or this is the course Zoom room. Load it. I definitely want to load that in a new tab. Add the item. So there's the course Zoom room. If I publish it, now the student can just come in here and click here and open in a new, they have to okay opening a new window, and bang, they go right into your Zoom meeting room. How do they know when to do that? Well, you can do that by in Canvas. You could, in that same module, if you like, there we go. You could put a Zoom schedule in a Canvas page. Make a page, new page, add the item. Oop. Oh, I didn't give it a name. Oops. How about Zoom class schedule? Thank God for spell check. I can't type worth a damn. All right, an add item. Yet I made my living in technology for close to 30 years. So it's amazing what deficits you can get along with. So here, this would be a blank page right now. You can go into it, you can edit it, and you can just type a Zoom schedule here. Just actually managed to spell schedule there. I'm impressed. Zoom schedule. And you could say, what's tomorrow, the 20, or Monday's April 1st, right? So you could say April 1st, 2 p.m. And you can make that a link. You could make that you could either just put the access link up here one time. I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. Access link, and then you could do a link to URL, and you could put your Zoom room in there, Zoom room link there, or you could even make each entry here a link to your Zoom room. And then you could just keep going and add more and more and more. You can also put links like this into your calendar. That's something I didn't show you in Canvas, and I'd rather not get into right now, but this is certainly this is more reliable because it's right in your course. The students are more likely to see it. So you just save that, and whenever the students want to see when their Zoom meetings are, they can just go here and click and get that information. My recommendation would be to use more, and you could also send this information to them through the inbox tool a day or two beforehand. And they'd get an email with this information in it that they wouldn't have to go into Canvas to check. So my recommendation is to do all of those things and anything else you can think of to help your students remember when their Zoom meetings are and to encourage them to come in. The wise instructor does not rely upon a single communications channel when trying to get students who are taking a course online to do something. So I'd do all of that. I'd send an announcement, I'd put a schedule in the module, I'd give them a link to the Zoom room in the module and inside the page that had the schedule on it, and I'd put all that information in it in an email. And a day or two before each Zoom meeting, I'd send them, everybody, an email reminding them that a Zoom meeting is coming up and how to get into it. How do I know that this is a good idea? Because I have to do the same sort of thing with faculty when I'm offering these seminars. Mary was sending out the seminar schedule with my Zoom link in it every day there for a while in the last couple of weeks. And you know, it really makes a difference. If I just send out something at the beginning of the quarter, or the beginning of the semester, I'm sorry, wrong institution, beginning of the semester with a semester-long schedule on it, I don't get anybody showing up. People show up because they see it that day or the day before. We all have so much going on in our lives that it's just natural that that would be the case. If you want your students to come in and join you, you got to remind them, remind them, remind them. And that's just human nature. Though if there are any psychologists here, I know this there's not supposed to be anything such thing as human nature. But anyway, long and painful experience suggests that you can't communicate with students enough if you want to get them to do something. And indeed, that's a lot of the work in an online course, is just nagging, not to put too fine a point on it, nagging students to get things done. And the most successful teachers do a lot of, online teachers do a lot of nagging. Great question, by the way, with a with an answer in 6 parts. Where is the recording that I can play again? Yeah, that's in our on-demand website. We've talked about that. And that's it. I'm at the bottom of the tool. There's still 8 of you here. Bless your hearts. Do you have any other questions for me?
Thanks, Dave. My name is Tessavana.
Hi. You're certainly welcome.
Hi. I really enjoyed the class. I hasn't been able to take the class because my computer broke, but I'm at my son-in-law house, so I'm using his computer. So thank you. So I'm going to go on demand and
thank him for me, and ask him if do you have a smartphone?
I do have a smartphone.
Maybe he can show you how to access these meetings on your smartphone. That works really well.
Okay, all right.
And you can do it from wherever you happen to be.
Okay, all righty.
And email me if you have any questions about that, okay?
Thank you so much. I really enjoy it. I learned a lot. I got a lot of notes too, okay?
Oh, great. I enjoyed meeting you, and I hope to see you again.
Nice. Okay, we will. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Anybody else?
Thank you, Dave.
Oh, thank you for coming. Anybody else? I don't see anything else in the chat tool.
Oh, I have one question, Dave.
Okay, go ahead.
I got a doc cam. I'm so excited. This is Kathy.
Good for you.
Yeah, because I was falling off chairs and all kinds of things. You're yelling,
the life you saved may be your own.
It's pretty funny. Anyway, yeah, I got, well, actually, I got the step up from the one that you suggested.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But this is hard enough for me. I need the tools. So
I hear you.
My question is, when I switch to screenshot, right, from looking at the students on Zoom and I want to take them to my laptop or whatever, is there a chance I'll lose them? And how would I do that? Because if there is, I will.
No, you will not. Okay. Zoom will not drop a session because you share your screen.
Okay.
I guarantee it. Well, let me put it this way. I have been using Zoom for about 7 years. I have done literally thousands of Zoom meetings, and I have never seen that happen.
Okay, good.
And I have messed up by the numbers in every possible way you can mess up in a Zoom meeting, and I haven't been able to cause it to do that. So don't worry about that.
So I just go to screen share. I've got my doc cam set up. I have my pen ready and my paper ready. I do my thing, and then I go up to the top, that red dot that says go off screen share. Or
right, when you're done.
Red thing up there, if I remember.
Yeah, the only addition I'd make to what you just said is, I think you probably implied it, but let me make sure. When you share your screen, which I'm doing right now,
right.
In order to show your students what the doc camera is seeing, you have to bring, and you said this was a step up, so but is it the
it's an
another
IP? Yeah.
It's an IP, oh good. So you have this visualizer software on your computer now, and you bring that up and flip the image around so it's right side up, and you come on, there it goes, and you focus the camera either manually by pushing the button on the camera or doing it through the software. So that's how you show the camera image to your students. So it's not
it's that little green icon down there.
Is the share icon, right?
Well, that's the share one, but what's the other thing you went to? Or did you not go to something else?
No, I went, oh, okay, yes. Well, I went to I shared my screen in Zoom by
Right,
going to the little green share icon.
right, and yeah, that's.
And then whatever's on my computer screen
Right,
is shown to my students.
right,
Then I have to put this visualizer application onto my computer screen
oh, good,
by running it. It's probably not already running. So I go to on a Mac, I go to my taskbar. On a PC, I go to my menu, and I find the IPvo visualizer software,
okay,
and I run that. And it appears on my computer screen. And since my computer screen is shared with everybody in the meeting,
right,
then they see this too. Then I do have to invert the image.
oh, okay, there you go, I was wondering
That's
about.
because the camera,
Maybe I have
I
to
think
figure out
you'll
where
have to
it's
do
at.
that. The lens in this camera is a simple lens. It doesn't have any image erection capability. So you have to do that in software. And now you're ready to write.
Okay, now,
That
can
would-
I go to that IPvo place on my laptop and do that before I start class, so it's all set up?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good,
You can just have that. That's what I did initially. I just
All right.
had it down here in my taskbar running the whole time. So
Oh.
whenever I needed it, I could just click on that link and up it comes.
okay, good.
Make sense?
It does, I'm gonna practice, though, I gotta.
Practice. Remember, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
That's right.
Right.
Thank you,
Practice,
Dave.
practice, practice.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, please.
You too.
Oh, this thing's a killer. Don't take any chances. I'll see you soon. Unless you have another question, in which case I'll wait. Hearing none, I'll wish you a safe and pleasant weekend. And maybe I'll see you again over the weekend. I'll be here Saturday and Sunday, Saturday morning, Sunday afternoon. So take care. Same Zoom room, same link. Drop in anytime. You're always welcome. Alrighty, let's stop the screen share and stop the